And welcome to the program. I'm Buddy Martin. This is the Buddy Martin Show. On a Wednesday night, that's a little different music we'll be playing in the recent weeks. Hope you like it. Just a little back old school stuff. Good show tonight. Really good one. Leading off here in just a second, Frank Frangie. He's known for his football prowess as an announcer with the Jaguars, but he's also a super sports fan and follows the Gators very closely in recent weeks. And boy, I tell you, that certainly has been a story, hasn't it? Yes, it is. In fact, let's go right to the Gator Bait Hotline and talk to the man who is he's a legend already, and he's done some fantastic work. I've known him for a long time. I don't know if it's because it's been a tough week with losing people, and you kind of hold on a little tighter to those that you know and feel special about, but this has been kind of a rough week for a lot of people we've lost some people, including Bill Donovan, etc. Yesterday, I heard about Doug Moe, my friend out in Denver. It's been a really, really tough time. And my friend Ron Zapola and I talked today, and he was really close to Doug. I've never seen this before, Frank. 3 grown men, esteemed members of the Denver media, kind of semi-retired now. Woody Page, Tom Green, and Ron Zapola, one of his best friends, openly weeping while doing a podcast about Doug Moe and passing the Kleenex. It went on for like about 35 minutes, passing the Kleenex box around. And for all you hard-bitten people who think that the media is just all badasses with no feelings, it ain't that way. And this was a special time. Good evening to you, Frank. How you doing?
I'm doing well, buddy, and I know you covered Doug Moe back in those Denver days, and you're right. It was a sad week. So many people respected Billy Donovan Sr. or Bill Donovan Sr., Billy's dad, and I didn't know him, but I know Billy, and I know so many people that did, and the respect that was poured out for him all over the country was really cool. So yeah, sad week as we lost a couple people in that basketball community.
And then you had Robert Duvall, who was one of my favorite actors. Jesse Jackson, of course, etc. Just seemed like there's been a lot of that this week. And I knew Bill Donovan, and I actually sat with Bill Donovan a lot because I was covering the Gator basketball team and Billy was coaching, and Bill had a press ticket. And he sat on the front row there, and I sit next to me. Many, many games we talked. He was so proud of you. He was quite a player himself, at BC. And a really special guy for those around him and around the program. Well, anyway, we didn't mean to start off with negative stuff, but I'm really more appreciative of having relationships with people in the media. It's different today, of course, but there's some special folks, including you, and you and I have had a special relationship. Let's get to the heart of the matter. Coming up in a little while, we're going to have Allie Peak Wilbur talking about her terrific interview she had with the new head coach of the Gator football team, Jon Sumrall, not Summer, Sumrall. It was good. I don't know if you had a chance to see it or not, but it was really superb. And then we'll top it off with Kevin Brockway tonight. Frank, you follow the basketball team really close. You tweet a lot about it. We saw last night them demolish South Carolina, although there were moments, as you're going to be in every game. This team they don't have a hiccup. The next 6-7 weeks is going to be fantastic and great to watch. It's going to be great to watch anyway, but give me your overall view on what you're seeing right now. I mean, it's been incredible.
Yeah, a couple of things. Number one, let me tell you the news of the day. Florida has got a 1-game lead over Arkansas and then a 2-game lead over a bunch of others, right? Mm-hmm. Tennessee and Alabama. Kentucky lost for the 5th time. Alabama and Arkansas. As you're talking, I'm watching, buddy.
Yeah, I'm watching it.
Alabama leads Arkansas 93-92 with 25 seconds to play. If Bama holds on and wins this game, then Florida's got a 2-game lead over everybody with 6 to play. And among those 6 to play, you get Arkansas at home. It's hard to beat the Gators there. I know Auburn did. You've got two bunnies against the 2 Mississippi schools. Neither one are very good. So a gigantic game going on right now. But you're right. Florida's really good. That great front line. Those 4 guys, I'm going to count Henlogden too. But Chinyalu, Condon, Tommy Houck, who's their best player, and Henlogden. It's rare to have 4 guys like that. They're all 6'10" or better. They're all long. They're all athletic. They all run. They've all got good hands. It's almost like playing an Alabama football team back in the day, buddy, where they had all 4 defensive linemen were NFL first rounders. That's what this looks like. They've got an embarrassment of riches up front. The guards are playing better. Yeah, I think Florida is positioned to get deep in the tournament and maybe even repeat. I didn't think that 2 months ago, but I think it now.
Yeah, I think the first time in history they have 6 guys in averaging double figures. And in a game like last night, everybody, I mean, Hoff didn't have his best night. He scored 10. Chimelu was a rebounding machine, what have you, another double-double. But those guards can score. They can score. And we've seen Condon finally stepped up and had a big game. They're capable, depending on matchups. Each guy is capable of scoring and defending and certainly rebounding.
I can tell you this, buddy. The front line is the best line and it's the best front court in all of college basketball. That's a cliche. They've said it so much. We know that, and it's true. So we know by now that part's true, right? The backcourt, I worried about it. I mean, Lee couldn't make anything. Flan couldn't make anything for the longest time. Those guys couldn't make anything. Now all of a sudden they're playing pretty well. I can tell you this, and I keep looking down at this game, by the way, because it means so much to the Gators. So I apologize.
95-92 Alabama.
It's now 95 all. And so and I think
behind you. Okay. Behind you.
Headed to overtime, buddy. So Arkansas tied them. So now you got extra basketball in Tuscaloosa. But back
here it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So you needed Alabama to win that game, and hopefully they still will. But now it'll be an overtime. Big late basket, big 3 by Arkansas late, sending into overtime. Back to the Gators. The front court's fantastic. I worried about the guards. Flan doesn't shoot it very well. Lee at first couldn't shoot it very well. Klavjar can shoot it. He's not quite as complete a player. But I tell you what, buddy, Xavier Lee is coming on. He's the guy. He's lightning quick. He's really quick. And he's a really good athlete. If Lee starts shooting the ball the way he is now, that's the key. Klavjar is going to make the threes, all right? Flan is not going to shoot well. We figured that out by now. The key is Xavier Lee, because of the 3 guards, he's the one that's starting to shoot well now. If this is for real, if what we're seeing the last 3 or 4 games, I should say, if he starts shooting or continues to shoot the way he has now, buddy, they're going to go very deep. So Xavier Lee is the key because he gives them a perimeter threat that, frankly, they haven't had much of the year.
Yeah, I want to go back to Flan because he's been leading the team. It's his team now. Up until, he didn't always score 20 a night, but he is so good now. He is defending his butt off. He's also been take the ball to the hole. He can shoot the 3. He can play. We've seen that. And I think Xavier Lee was a big surprise. He's really become quite a player. And there's solid front court and back court. I'm tired of people saying they just got a front court. They have. I want to get to Chinley. I think we should mark this time in history right now on Ruben Chimia. He is special in many, many ways. If you start doing the research, I'm working on a piece on him right now. I'm trying to think of, if Charles Barkley was a round mound of rebound, what is Ruben Chimia?
Well, I'll tell you this.
He's a stone mountain. That's what he is.
I'll tell you this, too. Tip of the cap to Ruben because he improved his game. Halk was starting to come on last year. He's better than he's ever been, but his skill set hadn't changed any. Condon's really good. His skill set hasn't changed. Chinyalu went from a guy who was big and strong, set a lot of screens, cleared out the lane, rebounded, but didn't have very good hands. But he's become a good free throw shooter.
Good
he's
touch.
% now. He's got great touch, that little jump hook of his. So give Ruben Chinyalu credit. He's the most improved player of all of them. And he completes that front court. And by the way, back to the guards, you know what I think? Lee and Flan, wouldn't they be good wide receivers? You ever thought about that? I mean, they fly.
Yeah, they would.
They fly up and down the court. That's how they're different. I think from a quickness standpoint, they're faster than last year's guards. Now, they're not nearly as good. Last year's 3 guards are all in the NBA, and that's why they won the national championship. But these guys can run. No, it's a very complete team, and I agree with you on Chinyalu. He deserves all the credit in the world because he's made himself a much better he was always a physical specimen, but he's made himself a better basketball player than he was.
He's going to be the defensive player of the year in college basketball. How great is that?
Yeah.
That's like being the Bill Russell of your team and being forever cemented as who he is. He's a mountain of a man. His hands are so strong. You notice those offensive rebounds. If he gets his hands on them, he gets them, and he's strong. He likes. I'm impressed by the bigs passing back and forth.
Yeah,
they're passing the ball back and forth to each other. And I thought the other night when they were playing, and who was it? Was it Georgia when they went to a zone? Who it was? And I thought that they threw a little pass into who was it? And they broke the zone with one pass. It's what a beautiful play. So they passed the ball so beautiful. Anyway, so I want to get your take now. We're going to morph into some football here in just a second. I want you to get your take on the dangers ahead for Florida, because there's a moment when you sticks in your throat. You're watching, and then you watch a team like South Carolina who hit their unbelievable shots, threes, get to within 4 points. You think, oops, is this the night when they finally have a hiccup? Todd Golden's really good about coaching through their lows and getting them focused. Is this team going to make some of those mistakes down the way, or will they hang tight and get through the SEC tournament and get that seed they need?
Well, first of all, they're gonna be a very high seeded team. I think Lenardi's got them as the 3 seed now. I think they can climb to 2. They can't be a 1 because they lost too many games in the non-conference schedule, so they won't be a 1. I do think it's conceivable that they can go to a 2. In fact, I think that's maybe where they get it. If they win the regular season in the SEC and the SEC tournament, they'll climb to a 2. But back to your question, buddy. Here's what I think about in terms of flaws and what flaws. We all know they're not a great shooting team. They're one of the worst, statistically, one of the worst 3-point shooting teams in the country. Everybody knows that. But I will tell you this, they've made them when they needed to. Their biggest concern is, and I've said this for a month on my show, buddy, the biggest concern the Florida basketball, in my opinion, is what happens if it's a close game. They haven't had any close games in a while.
They need to have one.
If you have it, correct. They need a close game or two. If they have a close game down the stretch, is there somebody that can make the big shot? That's the question I have. Last year, again, they won the national championship because they had the best big shot maker in college basketball. Walter Clayton Jr. was the best shot maker in the sport last year, and they won it. If it's one of those back and forth games, a lot of lead changes inside of 2 minutes. The other team makes it. Do they have the guy that can make the big shot? And I don't know that they don't, but that will be the question. Will they get beat on a day where they don't shoot well and somebody else makes the big shot late?
Okay. Not you brought that up. The game's on the line. Florida has to get the ball. Who do you want to see it?
Tell me how. Hauck's their best player.
By far. He's the man.
He's their best driver. He's their best offensive player. He's gritty, although they're all pretty gritty. But he's all of that. He's the guy that you want taking the shot. My gut is, if it comes down to that, though, it'd be either he or Xavier Lee. Xavier Lee's the best guy on the team at getting his own shot. He didn't make it all the time, but he's so quick. He's got that step back 3 that when he's making it, it's a thing of beauty. So Xavier Lee is the best guy at getting his shot. Chinyelu, by the way, I'm sorry, Klavjar, by the way, is going to make an open 3. He doesn't get it off as often, but Hauck's their best player, and Hauck's the guy you want taking that big shot down the stretch. That's my only question. Obviously, the perimeter shooting is a question about the team. We all know that, buddy. But in terms of what could get them beat, no one's going to blow them out. Duke, Arizona, UConn didn't blow them out. All right, no one's going to blow them out. So in one of those close games, can somebody make the big shot late?
Hauck can create the shots. He didn't create as many last night as he normally does. He can get himself to position to shoot the 3. He can take the ball to the hole. He can run the ball on the break. He can defend. And the defending is what helps his team break. You know that. When you can't run unless you get the basketball. And they do a fantastic job of getting offensive boards and defensive boards. So I just love. I'm with the coach from UConn. I love watching Hauck play. But I tell you what, it's hard not to like the big fella. Chinyelu would go down as one of the great basketball players in the SEC. I don't know what he'll do at the next level, but I suspect he'll be good. He is a Bill Russell of his team. And my gosh, he just makes some incredible. And he has that little baby hook, which when he's on that, he's getting rebounds, he can hit the glass, and he's tough to stop there, man.
Yeah.
Very impressive guy.
Yeah,
so
they've got the right combination. They've got 3 front court guys. They've got a really good post guy off the bench. They've got 2 starting guards who are fast, if not great shooters. They got a great shooter off the bench, and their 8th guy is a swingman who's the most athletic guy on the team. So the blend is really good, buddy. It really is.
Let's talk about the subject du jour tonight when I posted up the show. I talked about something. It's impossible to gauge, I know, but if you had to make a decision and you answered the question I've got in the box here, it says when it gets down to who's had the better start in the little bit of time, and you can't gauge in a little bit of time we've seen. All we know is what we know. It's like watching the stock. But so far, based on what little we know, and not much, has it been Kiffin or has it been Sumrall? That's the question. Now, I know you're going to want to back off of it, but that's the question on the floor.
Kiffin had the best portal year in the country. He got the number 1 quarterback in the country. He got the number 1 left tackle in the country. He had a great recruiting year. So Kiffin had a better start right now than anybody. Kiffin's had a better start than anybody, and there's no getting around that. But I will tell you this: there's a charm to this Sumrall guy. There's a charm to him that he looks special. He looks like there's something about him, and I think he's off to a great start too. If you're comparing him to Kiffin on paper, Kiffin out-recruited, out-portaled everybody, buddy. But there's something special about this guy, Sumrall. I see Allie there. Allie knows him better than the leader because Allie gets every good interview. Everybody wants to be on Allie's show. I figured that part out by now.
I'm still waiting for my invitation. I haven't had one yet.
Either. They don't have time for us, buddy, because
I know. No old guys.
We're just kind of
bigger fish.
I think Sumrall's special, Allie, and buddy, I really do.
Well, let's ask the person who interviewed him and has caused quite a stir. And who's getting all kinds of kudos. I can see right now her head doesn't fit the screen because it's gotten so big, because she's gotten so much praise, and deservedly so, for being equal to the task. Number 1, Frank, getting the interview. I haven't been able to get one yet. I'm in line, but I'm not quite there. And getting the interview and then knowing what to do with it when she got it and what questions to ask, and not being fangirl and asking good questions. Superb job. She knows that. I told her. I wrote a column about it. And we saw a side of this guy that we'd never seen before. And as we said, I think Fran saw at the basketball game Saturday night and repeated what I've said many times. We learned more about Jon Sumrall in 20 minutes than we learned about the previous guy in 4 years. That's what you call revealing. Good evening to you, Allie.
Hello. How are you guys?
We're good. We're just talking ball, and we just got to the subject off of basketball into football. And the question was the ridiculous question I asked. I asked it on purpose. If you had to make a call right now, who's had the better start, Kiffin or Sumrall? You want to weigh in on that?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what your measuring stick is. I heard
change.
Change. Well, I mean, I think I would argue that LSU needed less change than Florida did.
Okay.
So, I think we're getting some wholesale changes. I think Lane Kiffin continued to do exactly what Lane Kiffin does at Ole Miss. He brought it to LSU. He recruits the portal incredibly well. He was able to retain some of the talent that he wanted to retain, and he's going to LSU to me is a juggernaut that maybe had a bad year or two. I don't feel like they're in the same place that Florida was in. So I don't even know that I feel like it's a fair thing. But I'll tell you what, I think that in terms of endearing themselves to the fans, I think Sumrall has probably done a better job than maybe anybody in the country. He's just figuring out a way to assimilate with the fan base. Now, whether that will translate to wins and huge recruiting pickups, like that's kind of TBD at this point. So it depends on what we're using to measure them, but I am happy at the moment with the person that Florida ended up with.
Yeah, I'll say this too, and I'll jump in 2 or 3 things. Number one, Allie, I agree with what Buddy said. You've crushed it on those interviews. I mean that sincerely. I texted you after the Werfel one, but I could have texted you after all these. You've done a great job with those. So kudos to you, and I mean that very sincerely. They've been a joy to watch. Second thing, I agree with you on Sumrall. The amazing thing about Sumrall is everybody was so upset when it wasn't Kiffin.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, how in the world are they going to swing this, right?
Yeah.
And I'll be doggone. I thought Dave Caldwell's a friend of mine. Dave and I had breakfast a couple days after that. I'm sure you've met Dave by now. And I told him, I said, this thing flipped in the minds of Gator fans so quickly that they went from down in the dumps that Lane Kiffin wasn't coming to blink of an eye. They love this guy, and I agree with you, Allie. That's a tribute to who this guy seems to be. And again, you know him better than I do, but I'm with you. I think in terms of galvanizing a fan base that was mad at everybody, right?
Yeah.
He has done a magnificent job of that. There's no question.
He has seen, or at least it appears, and we'll see if this continues when things are bumpy, because they won't always be, roses. But I think he sees the value in Gator fans getting to know him. And I have always said, I think that's huge value. I think that's a currency that you will end up cashing in later on when things get tough. I think it's why Spurrier can lose a game and we would give him the benefit of the doubt that he was the hardest worker in the room and it had to be somebody else's fault. It's certainly not his. And, I feel like he's doing that. He's taking his kids to all of the UF activities every single weekend. He's going on shows and talking to Gator media, which, I've also argued for years, it's silly to go on some national ESPN show as opposed to talking to your local people, because Gator fans want to hear from their local media. They don't want to hear from some guy that's located in Connecticut or New York or LA that, is only knows names because he read it off a roster. Like that's not where true fans get their information. And it felt like the previous staff didn't understand that. But I do think Sumrall does. And, this is about 20% of the grade, right? Is how you're winning fans over. 80% is going to be the product you put on the field. And so you could just knock it out of the park with the 20%. And if the 80% is horrific, it's not going to matter in 3 or 4 years. But from what we've been able to see, I really like what he's bringing to the table so far.
Yeah, I think my thinking is colored somewhat by the fact that Brian Kelly, everybody told me how great he was. I never really liked him from day one.
Mm-hmm.
He came in to win a national championship. He couldn't even win the conference.
Yeah.
And it was Brian Kelly who had everything, all the toys, all the money, everything he needed. It's like Steinbrenner when you're paying the Yankees, $1 billion a player and getting all the good players. That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win.
Yeah.
And there was something about the Brian Kelly thing. Something was missing, and he didn't last. So now let's see what is in the water there at Baton Rouge. As we know, they've had national champions with some strange coaches, as we know.
I think Lane's a better fit than Brian Kelly ever was.
I think he is too, but he's still got to do it.
Yeah, but the second he pulled out that fake accent and said family
that
basketball game, it was going off the rails.
I agree.
And right, Brian Kelly was a decent coach. It was a bad fit. We all agree with that. And Lane's going to fit. Listen, I'll say this, and maybe Allie, this is where you were going. Lane Kiffin's a really good coach, and Lane Kiffin is going to win. And he's won the portal, and he's going to recruit, and they're going to win a lot. He's got a really good quarterback coming in Sam Levitt. They're going to win a lot of games. He's going to win a lot of games. There's no getting around that. He's a good coach.
Yeah.
But let me take my hat off, my media hat for a second, and put that Gator hat on just for a second. As a fan, we get to be fans too, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm more happy that Sumrall's the coach, and Allie, maybe that's where you were going, but I just was stuff with Lane, and it sounds like sour grapes, but there was something disingenuous there, and I can't, you know what I mean? There was just something there that I couldn't put a finger on, and I don't know what it was. This guy seems genuine. We'll see if he's a good coach.
Yeah,
but this cat seems as genuine and real, and he's not full of it, and. I'm glad. I think I'm glad he's the coach and not Kiffin. Does that make sense? I think
that's the sentiment of the Gator Nation.
And I think he just seems so grateful to be here. And had we landed Lane, I'm sure lots of us would have been really thrilled that he had come here. But I don't know that there would have ever been a moment where he was grateful for the University of Florida giving him a chance. And I think Sumrall comes across as incredibly grateful to wear the orange and blue. And that is refreshing. That makes you want to support this person who thinks that, this is a special place, because it is.
Yeah, I agree. And I can't wait to see how he coaches, by the way. I think, he comes off as, Buddy and Allie, he comes off as a guy. Guess what? I've watched like one Tulane game. Okay. So I don't know, but he like a guy that's not going to be afraid to go for it. What was it? Billy Napier's line, what was it? Scared money don't make money. And then he coached scared for 4 years.
Yeah.
Did the opposite.
I get don't you get the impression that this guy isn't afraid of much? I mean, he comes off that way. And again, Allie, you're right. 20% of the job is done. The important part's coaching the team. But yeah, I get the hunch that there's something, he's not afraid. He certainly comes off as that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to say, Allie, and the answers he gave you, if you could think of which one were the most telling. One of the things I loved, which got passed over, was when he talked about how he game plans and has to make changes.
Mm-hmm.
And the time he could go out and his quarterback throws an interception the first play.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I say, that's okay. I want to see the defense anyway.
Yeah, he says, good. I wanted to see my defense.
I love that. And
the hand behind the line thing stood out to me because I watched, Eric was sitting on like the other side of the computer screen. We have a couch in our office, and he was sitting there listening to it. And I could literally feel him get excited by that, because that's something, I mean, Eric coaches our kids in every sport imaginable. And that's something he tells them all the time, is that it's the details. And there was actually a time when Eric played for Meyer that he and Derek Harvey got in a fight at practice. This is a real story. It was during spring, and they were all split up into their teams, and each coach was assigned one little group of players, and Derek Harvey and Eric were on the same team, and Mullen was the coach that was in charge of supervising them. And they had lost whatever the competition was that day. So they were having to run suicides, and they would do it. And Mickey Maroney would be like, somebody did it wrong, do it again. And it went on for like 10 times, and they're trying to figure out who is doing what wrong. And Eric says he finally realizes that Derek Harvey's hand is on the line, not behind the line. And when they were starting, Mickey Maroney would say, okay, put your hand down behind the line. And then he'd blow the whistle. So Eric said something to Derek Harvey. He doesn't move his hand behind the line. They run it. Mickey Maroney's like, all right, run it again. So Eric then picks up Derek Harvey's hand and moves it behind the line, because he knows this is why we're having to do this. So Derek Harvey punches Eric in the face, and they start going at it. Mullen pulls him apart. Urban comes down from wherever he was to see why in the hell his crazy punter has decided to fight, a D lineman. And Mullen, to his credit, was like, no, Wilbur did the right thing. This was exactly, he figured out what the problem was and why we were continuing to do this. But all I could think about was that story. Those details are the difference between teams winning championships and not. And we would go and watch practice, and Eric would leave so frustrated because kids were doing things like not putting their hand behind the line, but then nobody would correct it. Or they would, warm-ups before games would kill him. We'd watch, and they would just half do their arms when they were supposed to swim for their D-line or something. And Eric's like, we're going to get killed. They're doing nothing in warm-ups, and coach isn't correcting them. And so to hear that was going to be different, I think spoke volumes.
New props to Eric. I mean, getting in fight with a punter, getting in fight with defensive lineman.
How did I not know that story?
Really.
He had a pretty intense black eye for a couple weeks there.
Good for him. Props to him.
Not going to make Jacksonville radio. That's fantastic. That's a great story.
That was great. Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about Sumrall and his feistiness. He knows in his repertoire kind of how to play to the audience and which audience it is. I noticed he was on that other show today, the one you go on a lot. I forget the name of it. And he told him, he said, when it comes down to getting paid, he says, that's okay. I can say to him now, I'm like, dude, you're making money, so shut up. You know, I love that attitude. And that's a lot of it. He has that attitude. He proudly says, I'm going to win. I love that confidence. I just like everything about this guy more than I thought I would. And I'm bracing myself not to let myself get over my skis.
I know.
And to get, fall in love with the first date and all that kind of stuff. But he does everything I like. Now, if he can really get out there and actually advance the ball down to he and Buster Faulkner and get their quarterbacks they want go in the right direction and get number 13 loose out there. I mean, with this offensive line, which I saw you interview with Troutwine too, he's going to be such a force. Troutwine, these offensive linemen, I'm hearing stories already about this huge monster he's got going. And then if he gets some defense, Frank, this guy's going to be fun to watch, and never mind, the record will take care of itself.
Yeah, let me go back to you. You mentioned a guy I was getting ready to mention. You guys both know him. The superstar on that staff is Buster Faulkner. And I can tell you this, the people I know in college football, I know a lot of people at Georgia. I covered Georgia, buddy, back when you were at the Times Union, before all the Florida stuff. He's a megastar. So he was the quarterbacks coach when Todd Monken was the coordinator, and they won the 2 titles with Stetson Bennett. And he's the guy that really, I mean, Stetson Bennett was pretty dang good now as a college quarterback.
Yep.
And Buster had everything to do with it. So anyway, Todd leaves and goes to the Ravens. The Georgia people thought Buster Faulkner was the answer. Kirby brought in Mike Bobo, who he knows and who's a good football coach and been a head coach. Buster takes off for Georgia Tech. I can tell you, Georgia people ruled the day. That I trust, that oh boy. And I got one guy that covers Georgia that I've known forever, my friend Jeff Dancer, comes on my radio show. Jeff told me when the search was going on, when they weren't sure if Kiffin was getting it and blah, 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 and Florida had mentioned Brent Key, he said, listen, Brent Key's not the star there, man. It's Buster Faulkner. He's not up for any head jobs yet, but he ought to be. And the next thing you know, you blink and Sumrall's got the Florida job and you start hearing Faulkner's coming with him. I'm telling you, Allie and Buddy, that he's the star. He's one of the stars of that staff, man. And I think people are going to find that out.
I've been told they're bracing themselves. They think 1 to 2 years is all he will last because he'll get plucked somewhere to be a head coach. And when somebody said that to me, I was like, well, that's great. That means our offense was really powerful. If in a year or 2 years he can get, taken away, that means our offense was pretty impressive, and I'm ready to put up some points. So, I'm good with that.
I heard the same thing, by the way, that the expectation is that Buster Faulkner will be a head coach sooner rather than later. And I agree with you. If he gets a job, that means they were pretty good on offense. Who's the quarterback going to be? Philo or Tremel?
I'm going to guess it's going to end up being Philo. I would assume, and I hope that there is a true quarterback competition that happens. I just think you've got to have a little bit of an advantage knowing the offense coming in. And I've heard he's going to be incredibly impressive, but I hope it's a real competition. Let's see what we got. Let the best guy win. And it seems like Sumrall's that kind of guy. Like he wants the best players to be on the field and everything's a competition.
Yeah. Buddy, who's the quarterback going to be? Philo?
I think Philo, although I like the other kid a lot, Jones. I think he's really got a nice soft touch. He's gotten some decent coaching. I know the players around him, like Spurrier Jr., they think a lot of him, how he throws the ball. I mean, I'm not there. I don't get to see it every day, but he's just here. I think it's a good thing to have a coin flip.
I mean, there's so many weapons. I feel like I could play quarterback for them, and they'd probably be successful. They're between the wide receivers and running back room and what we think our offensive line can be. Like,
but can your dog play quarterback?
I mean, I don't know. I'll have to send him to Jim McElwain's school of dog training to see.
I'll tell you this, Buddy and Allie. I think Philo's going to be the quarterback too. Just you put the pieces together. We haven't seen either one of them up, but I'll tell you this. Tremel Jones is pretty dang good. One of the things they're privately saying in that building down there is one of the things they're most appreciative of Billy Napier is that he didn't play Tremel Jones, because if people have seen, and I was told this by somebody there, that if people had seen him, they never would have been able to keep him. I can also tell you, you guys probably know what those guys got paid. Philo got paid. And Tremel got almost as much. Did you know that? Almost.
I did not.
I did not know that. Interesting.
Yes. Allie, very, very close. I I get very close. Now it wasn't the kind of money the big quarterbacks got. Okay,
Sure.
It wasn't in the $3 and $4 or even $2 million range, but I can tell you, Philo's probably their highest paid guy. But Eric Singleton's probably their highest paid guy, but Philo's probably close. And I'm telling you, Trammell got very close. The money they gave him was very close to what they gave Philo. That I can tell you.
Yeah, Frank, it's like anything else. It's what you know. I mean, look, we all work together in the paper, right? So let's say that if I had a head job someplace, I got to pick from Matt Hayes and Frank Frangie, just to people I know and work with. The guy I'm going to go with is going to be Frangie because he's my guy and I know him and I know what he can do. And, you know, I feel comfortable with that choice. I think that's true of anybody. And they're good. But now Matt Hayes wants a Pulitzer overnight. You know, I think that's the thing. You go with what you know. I want to say, and let me just take a quick break and do the commercial, but I want to get back to what we wrote about Allie's interview. I want to go back to this. This is a textbook. Remember, the best interview we've had with a coach, probably in 7-8 years at least, was done by someone who's not a full-time beat person, who's not, who's not a journalist on the job, a journalist, but not on the job, who has now 5 children. How many dogs?
Only one dog.
One dog. He does already a bunch of podcasts every day. She got the interview. She did the job. I want to read to you what the setup was. I wrote a column about it. This is the setup. I got some help on what it was. I want to talk to her specifically about this interview because it's good for young people to know how this works and how you get the interview and what you do with it. Frank, you and I could get in those situations and get talking with one of our friends or somebody to coach, and we might kind of go overboard a little bit because we kind of like paternalistically. But let me tell you first about what I do know about, and that is our friends at Melton Law, Jeffrey Melton, who is a special person. They have the only official law firm at the University of Florida's Melton Law. They're known not just for that, they're also known for the terrific things they do for the program, whether it be the great championship ring, replica rings they gave out, over 10,000 of them to fans free, gave them out, whether it's buying transportation for the band. Jeffrey and his son and his other kids work at the firm too, but they do so many things for the University of Florida because they bleed orange and blue. They are Gators through and through. They live it. Jeffrey wouldn't think of missing a game, women's or men. So I just glad to call him my friend. I appreciate his support. And I also have him as a lawyer, and I've been able to work through a legal problem because of Jeffrey. He does practice law. Call him 4 locations, Northwest Florida, Central Florida, and 1 now in South Florida. Melton Law, they won't back down. All right, so Frank, here's what we came up with, and I got some help on this. I didn't write it per se. When a coach finally opens the blinds and lets the light in, you don't walk away squinting, you walk away seeing. That's what happened when Jon Sumrall sat down with Allie Peak Wilbur and in the span of a half an hour told Gator Nation more about himself than Billy Napier managed to do so in 4 long Processville years. And I went on to talk about it in the program, but I didn't hear one complimentary football comment, et cetera, et cetera. And when I look at when I saw this man, what I saw with this interview, I got angry at Napier because he did. You mentioned earlier a while ago about not playing Jones because of what he hid from us. He tried to hide everything from us, and I hate to keep going back to the same story, but you all both know I'm a man of faith and whatever I put priority on things. In a private moment when I first met Napier, I asked the biggest softball question in the country. You probably get tired of hearing this. I said to him, "What's your favorite scripture?" Frank, I think it'd take you about 15 seconds or less to be able to come up with something, right? You know, if you're a Bible reading Christian, I know you are, and Allie too, you're going to come up with something because that's what we do, right? To encourage others. And he said to me, "I don't know. There are a lot of good ones." That's not an answer. He's not even willing to commit to talking about something like that. He tells you, what's the old, came from Paul Brown, by the way, the old thing about when you lose, say nothing. When you win, say less, whatever it is. That was his philosophy. And I asked Spurrier about it one time. I was so upset with Napier for not being able to get him to answer any questions. I said to him, I said, this guy just doesn't get it. He doesn't want us to know. And Steve said to me, well, how did his boss at Alabama do it? Nick Saban did it, and that's how he's trying to do it, except he ain't Nick Saban. So I hate to keep bringing him up, but I think about it when I hear what he told Allie. I want to get to the interview. And I wrote the piece about the neighbor we finally got to meet. And we finally met our neighbor, Allie.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, we liked what we saw. And Coach Napier, it was frustrating, I think, for all of us. I'm sure for both of you guys. I continually asked, like, would you come on? Can we do an interview? And I even tried to explain to people around him, I think it would be great for fans to feel like they understood you or they knew you. It's so much easier to be mad at, Mrs. Wilbur than to be mad at Hadley and Hayden's mom. And there's something to be said for that. And that was just not their mentality at all. And I know that Saban can be tough for the media or strict in his press conferences or things, but I also feel like he has a good sense of humor and he gave us some one-liners. And, we've heard stories from Saban over the years. So I don't even think Napier was doing the emulating right.
Hey, Allie, when you got Danny the Werfel story, did you call Danny, text Danny? How did that come about?
No, Danny actually texted me. Danny.
See, we're not big enough.
He had come on my podcast. I'm trying to think what he came on for, but I did an interview with him a while ago about him as a player and his faith and stuff like that. And right before Sumrall got announced, and I had been told from a booster that Danny was very involved in the search, but I didn't want to say anything because it wasn't public knowledge at that point. But he texted me and said, listen, we're going to announce who our head coach is tomorrow. You're going to find out that was involved in the hiring. I would love to come on and talk to you about it. Can we do that as soon as the first?
He's asking her if he can come on her show.
Well, and I think
can he get his number?
Well, I had his number from the interview before, but I think he felt so strongly that the process had been misconstrued. And honestly, I was frustrated with the process. And I had talked about that on podcasts that I felt like it was bungled or not handled appropriately or whatever. And I still don't think that Scott Strickland is completely blameless in us not ending up with Lane. I just think it worked out well for Florida that we didn't end up with Lane. But hearing his view behind the scenes, and, I was a 12-year-old girl when Danny Werfel won the national championship. I had every article that ever ran that year about him. And I think in Gator fans' minds, he can do no wrong. He's the ultimate good guy. And so I think it was really smart. I mean, and he didn't do it for PR. He did it because he felt really strongly about it. That's, who Danny is. But I think that was the best possible person to introduce Sumrall to Gator Nation because he's above reproach in all of our minds.
Well, I can tell you. Excuse me, but let me tell you this. First of all, Allie, I thought you crushed it on the interview. I told you that off air and here. But let me tell you what else I liked about it. We all had sources, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was blessed enough to have really good ones on that. I mean, I had a board of trustee and I had somebody really close to Chris Kiffin, who is Lane's brother. All right. Yeah. So I had a pretty good idea that all that stuff was wrong. That we kept seeing, and it sounds arrogant. I don't mean it to be. I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
I had what stuff was wrong?
Everything the boosters said. Everything.
Oh, really? Yeah. Yeah.
Because I can now tell you that I'll go and say it now. I think I said it, but I can tell you definitively that when they went, his Layla, who Allie, and Chris Kiffin's wife Angela both flew to Baton Rouge, to Gainesville and Baton Rouge. Do you remember that right after that? Okay. Mm-hmm. I can tell you that Chris Kiffin, who's very close to someone I'm very close to, said the day they got back, their recommendation to Lane was Baton Rouge, not Gainesville. I can definitively tell you that. I can tell you, I could get into more detail about why where the kid was going to play quarterback and all that. But so I knew then he wasn't coming. I was told he wasn't coming by someone who would have been on his staff had he come to Florida, right?
Yeah.
And then all this stuff got out there. Where I'm going with this is Allie had Danny Werfel on, and that's the first time I saw anybody clear it up, Allie. And I thought you asked all the right questions. I thought because the things people wanted to know, and I thought Danny was really good about clearing the air. Now he went on a bunch of stuff after you and said the same stuff, right? But I thought you had it out of him first. I was so. The reason I love this so much, the reason I texted you after, the reason is I wanted somebody to tell the freaking truth about what happened. And Danny Werfel did on your interview. I thought it was a seminal moment for Gator Nation. I really did.
He did so well. And he even said afterwards, he's like, do you have any questions? Is there anything that I didn't clear up that you feel like needs to be cleared up? I think he could tell that I was a little bit skeptical. And I did tell him afterwards, I was like, part of the problem is some of our boosters who talk with such authority, and they are people that have been right in the past many a times, but maybe like to give the illusion that they're a little bit closer to the situation than maybe they were with this particular one. And I do think that was part of the problem this time around. But hearing all the different things from somebody that was there and from somebody who you trust, there's very few people who tell you, hey, listen, everything you've believed for the last 3 weeks is actually completely false. Yeah. And you actually give them the benefit of the doubt. But Danny Werfel is that person.
Yeah. Let's bring Kevin in real quick. And
why are we, we're 3 months removed. Why are we still talking about this Lane stuff? It's over.
Well, I'll tell you why, because the theme of the show was who's done the better job so far. That's why. And
Lane's got more money to work with, for one thing.
That's not it. That's not who's going to do it.
That's a big
done
issue
the best so far in a limited time and information. It was an estimate. That's why we're talking about it. But go ahead, Kevin. You get.
Well, no, I'm saying that Lane has more money, so there's going to be a little bit of a talent advantage in Baton Rouge. But I think Jon's doing the best he can. Very excited, and certainly cleaning up what needed to be cleaned up. In terms of just establishing some toughness to the program, and he and his staff kind of just realizing, hey, there's a new sheriff in town here, and things aren't going to run business as usual as they did the previous 4 years.
Yeah.
All right. So Allie, didn't you see when you came to the Tony Barnhart thing? Didn't you see Danny there?
Yes, I did, and that's where I first met him and asked him if he would come on.
That's what I thought.
Come on right after that, yeah.
And Frank, we've been lied to before by people, and we take a little hook, line, and sinker, and they think they know, and they don't know. They're some of the most ill-informed people in the world.
And I don't know why it bothered me so much. Allie, I told you this afterwards. I don't know why it bothered me. Why? But I'm just like, these poor Gator fans are none of that was true. So anyway, I've ranted enough about that. I do want you to know, Kevin, you'll be interested to know that the Gators now have a 2-game lead in basketball because Alabama needed 2 overtimes, but they beat Arkansas. So there's that.
Well, I'll tell you what. I just tweeted this, by the way. 1.8 million viewers for the Florida-Kentucky game over the weekend. Highest rated college basketball on ABC since 08-09. So Todd's building the brand back up, which certainly is of note and interesting, and some of the Kentucky fans are saying, well, it was all Kentucky fans that watch, but where's defending national champions and they're on a roll right now, winning 11-12, and they're positioning themselves very well for March, and the national interest in this program is back, which is good to see.
We had a discussion last night, and again, you can tend to get a little bit over the top sometimes about whether or not Todd was not just as good a basketball coach as there is out there, but maybe one of the best coaches in any sport in the country. How good is Todd Golden, Frank?
Yeah. I think Todd Golden is one of the rising stars in sports, to your point, buddy. I think it's clear he's really good. He really connects with players. He's ahead of the game from an analytical standpoint. He's smart as heck, but he really connects with players. And listen, there's a little Spurrier in there. There's a little Liam Cohen who's here in Jacksonville. There's a little Liam in there. There's that edge. There's that little bit of a sassy edge that you have to be able to back that up. Well, I think he's really good. He's another one. Allie, we talked about Buster Faulkner. He's another one. He just turned 40 years old. I hope Florida can hang on to him because he's got NBA written all over him. He's got blue blood written all over him. But as long as he stays, I think they're going to be good for a long time. I really do.
I had a prominent former college coach tell me that he thinks that Todd's an NBA coach, but I can tell you that it has not been the trend to hire college guys in the NBA for quite some time, and Brad Stevens and Billy Donovan were probably the last two that have been hired from the college ranks.
If we could win a couple more championships before that happens, I would greatly.
Yeah, I gotta say, and looking down the road, and again, people say, "Well, you can't look down the road." You can. You thought about your retirement, and you spend all your savings and put them with IBM. You're going to watch IBM kind of close. The point is, down the road, the way things are setting up right now, with the basketball team playing so well, seem to be the floor is going to have to be the Final Four for them, I swear. And then you take the football team, and I won't put a number on it, but I love the way the football program is progressing under Sumrall. These are maybe some good days ahead, and Allie, we can sure use some of those.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this for years. We're in the selling hope phase. You can sell hope or you can sell wins, and we don't have a product on the field, so we're in the selling hope phase of this. But I really do feel hopeful, and I think when you look at what we're seeing now and you compare it to the beginning of the Napier era, I kind of am mad at myself for being duped for the amount of time that I was. I think it was probably that Arkansas game that it was really hard to kind of get me back after that year too, that Arkansas loss. But I was bought in too. But if you replay that first press conference next to this press conference, there's just no comparison. And I love the gritty, tough team mentality. We need that. We have well-behaved kids. We have kids that do great academically. We have kids that are philanthropic, and all of that is wonderful. But we weren't winning football games. So if we can take those kids who aren't behavior issues and aren't, struggling outside of football and make them tough and gritty, we can win some games.
Thanks, Frank. I know you got to go. I've kept you a long time. Let's just final comments on where we stand now and how far can the basketball team go? What's the floor? What's the ceiling?
Well, the first comment I'm going to make is I'm going to open the show tomorrow with the Eric Wilbur, Derek Harvey fight. That's how the show's going to start tomorrow. I think the basketball team, I think the ceiling's the national championship. I said this earlier, Kevin, before you were on. Everybody knows the Achilles heel is the perimeter shooting. We all know that. They've seemed to mitigate that because the front court's so good and the guards are quick and get to the hole if they don't shoot the ball well. My biggest fear with the basketball team is they haven't played a close game in a while. And when they play a close game and somebody's got to make a big shot, do they have a guy that will make that? Now, Thomas Houck's a great player. Maybe Tommy will make it. But do they, in one of those back and forth games where the lead changes hands 4 times in the last 2 minutes, do they have somebody that will make – will they be the team that makes the big shot? Last year they made the big shot every time and they won the national championship. So, but I think the ceiling is the national championship. I don't know if the floor is the Final Four, buddy, but I'd be surprised if they don't get very deep. I really would. So I think they're going to be great. And as for football, listen, Allie, you said being duped. We're all supposed to be duped because we're supposed to get excited about who the new coach is. That's our job as fans, is to get excited and to believe that the next guy is the right guy. So, yeah, this guy feels right. He feels like he's got a lot of charisma. I like a lot about him, and I can't wait to watch it. So, buddy, thank you for having me on. And Allie, I love the interviews. Keep up the good work. And Kev, good to catch up with you, man. It's been too long. So,
good to see you, Frank.
Thank you, Frank. I don't know who's going to get the last shot, but I know who'll get the last rebound. Okay.
You guys,
listen, thank you, Frank. You can get away with poor perimeter shooting if you defend the 3-point line well. And South Carolina, they were 5 of 19 from 3, but they held South Carolina to 4 of 19 from 3. So that's the key. That's how you get away. That's how you get away from being a bad perimeter shooting, or get away with being a bad perimeter shooting team.
Yeah. All right. So Allie, floor and ceiling, or whatever how you want to say it.
I think the ceiling is a national championship, and the floor. I mean, it's got to be at least an Elite Eight. I feel like. I mean, this team feels like most days they're really hot, and on days that they're not, they're good enough to win anyway. And that is that's kind of dangerous. And both of you guys told me way back in probably October, when I was freaking out and saying like, this is not the same team that we had last year. This is not great. Like, I was concerned. You guys were not concerned. And Franz too, he was on the train where he was saying we're exactly where we needed to be. And you guys were all right. I was not. So I'm excited to watch what happens. And I think it's always fun when football is good and basketball is good. And, football's not good yet, but we're excited, right? We have hope for what is to come. And what a great time to be a fan. What a great time to be a student. We've got a great gymnastics team. We've got a great softball team. It is a great time to be in Gainesville.
Hey, let's enjoy it, Kevin. Come on.
Well, I'm saying floor Sweet 16, ceiling Final Four. I do like this team. And, I think Frank has a valid point about the last shot. And I do wonder, metrically, the SEC is still the best conference in America. But I do wonder, Big 12, Big 10, teams that are a little top heavy. You see those teams again. Maybe this team has grown. And I think that will be the second weekend. But they're set up to go to Tampa, which is great. I mean, they're 8-0 in their last 8 NCAA tournament games in the state of Florida. So they'll have a crowd. Gator Nation is pretty fired up for this team, so they'll come down in droves to support this team. And I think that will help the first weekend of the tournament. And, anything can happen. It's a one and done format, and you see, higher seeds lose all the time. But I think Florida's put themselves in a pretty good spot right now. And the front court, back court chemistry is where it's needed. They're deeper now. Klavshar scoring off the bench. Isaiah Brown has been a really nice revelation how he's developed. And again, I wrote this column a couple of weeks ago, buddy. What Jon Sumrall can take from Todd Golden, player development, because players, he has a proven track record of players getting better within his program, and that's what you need to be successful.
All right, good stuff, Kevin. Glad we finally got you on. Allie, again, great job. Keep up the good work. Appreciate you, and you guys have a good one. We'll talk hopefully next week. Thank you.
Right, thank you, guys.
Night.
Guys.
All right, folks, I want to close up the show and tell you about Titan MRI. A special group of people. I want to be sure we give them their props. And you need to know about this company. They're doing some terrific things. They are growing, and they're also serving you, making it easier for you. I love when people care about customer service because, quite frankly, it's almost non-existent some places. Every day I get angry about it. But Titan MRI and Imaging has that, and they're making it better for you every day. With their locations, 2 in Gainesville, 3 altogether, soon to have 4, 1 in Ocala, Millennium Center, and 1 in Lake City, serving all of Columbia County and Valdosta. They have the same great customer service they've always had. That includes the ability of you to change the time of your appointment to get your MRI or whatever it is that you need. And this is really important when you're trying to deal with all the things you're dealing with. When you have health issues, they accept insurance. You can go to their self-pay option if you want. They offer MRIs, CAT scans, X-rays, ultrasounds. They have the larger MRI machines for patient comfort. That's a big thing. If you've ever had to go in there and have your, have your MRI, you get in that tube and think, I got to get in here. Yeah, you got to get in there. So they make sure that you don't get claustrophobic. Soon coming to Marion County, you better serve them there. Titan MRI, it's your choice. All right, folks, thanks to Frank Frangie. Thanks to Allie Peak Wilbur. Thanks to Kevin Brockway. And thanks to you for listening and watching on the program. We're back tomorrow night with our usual group on Thursdays, including the Gator Hoopla Show with Jeffrey Melvin. So check it out. I'm Buddy Martin. You have a good night, all right?